All right, friends, so this is part 3 of what has been just a terrific 3-part series and clearly generating a lot of interest. Today, we hear from Jill Ragsdale. Jill is a registered nurse and has been working in various ERs for the last
16
years. Jill has seen it all, but Jill brings a unique perspective of that hospital setting when we all don't think we're ever going to die until all of a sudden we're sitting in that room and having to make some really challenging decisions. What Jill will talk about today, what the conversation project is about, is pre-planning and talking about those decisions so that it doesn't become quite as overwhelming when the time comes. So Jill will offer her presentation and we can open up for questions at the end. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Okay. So good morning. I'm glad you're all here. As Andy said, I've been in the ER for 16 years and I'm incredibly passionate about people dying the way they want to die, because I've seen people most of the time in my space in the ER, both at the main ED and at Shands and a couple times at Kanapa and Spring Hill ED, where I am currently. Dying, what I'm guessing, is not how they planned on dying. And while we can't plan on how we want to die every time, if we have the opportunity to choose how we die, it has to be known by the people that surround us. And we have to express those things. So let me get back to my little script here. Let's see. I'm glad to be here with you all discussing this. Because death will impact all of us. And before I begin, I need to preface this seminar that I have not done any public speaking since 2019. COVID kind of wiped that out. So most of my public speaking comes at the bedside, shooting from my hip. So, and that's where I operate best. And it can get a little dicey because my filter is broken. So I'll put that out there right now. Right. So I can be really sharp and direct, and I apologize for that because not everybody absorbs that well. And it never comes from a place of malintent. It normally comes from a place of, I'm really concerned about you, and I'm going to be really direct because this is important to me. It is probably important to you and you don't know that. So, let's see. And how we die is an important and fascinating conversation that I could talk about for a very long time, but I think we have 45 minutes. So as much as I want to talk to you and I want to hear what you have to say, and I want you to marinate over what it is what you're feeling, I might have to rein it back in so that we can get through the material. So I'm going to proceed at an efficient pace, but one that allows us to get to the brass tacks of the conversation project. So again, I've been in the ER for 16 years, and I've been privileged to be a part of many deaths of all kinds: tragic, unexpected, expected, gruesome, compassionate, hard-fought, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, perplexing, tender, loving, peaceful, pleasant, calm, inspiring, and exhilarating. And it was when I was about ankle deep into my career and ankle deep into experiencing quite a bit of death that I realized that most people that I was encountering aren't dying the way they want to die. And that really, really impacted me. I think the thing that really brought it home was we were doing a lot of CPR on a lot of people that were 90 years old. And I have to tell you that 90-year-olds don't fare well when it comes to doing CPR. It's violent, it's ugly, and it impacts the family when they come in and they see their family member broken. They didn't arrive broken in a way that they were sick, but they didn't arrive looking beat up. And that creates a lot of PTSD situations for family members, because you know, your family member, your mom looked like your mom when you dropped her off. She was sick, but she looked like your mom, but now she looks like she's been put through the gauntlet. And the death was actually fine. It was the family members coming in and reacting to what they'd seen that was like, wow. I shouldn't even say that. The death wasn't fine. Your hearing's the last thing to go when you're dying. And hearing strange voices and ribs breaking and you're still in pain, all of that is a horrific way to die. And if somebody if that had just had this conversation with these people that I were encountering, like, would they have had to go through that? My intention is not to scare you into action. It's really to inspire you to live your entire life until that last breath is cast out. Because it's like, I like to say, it's your right and it's your right, your RITE. So, and you get to have, you should be able to have control over that. So that said, as I progressed in my nursing career and my ED career, I also became part of the palliative care resource team at the hospital and within my department. And that introduced me to the Conversation Project. Is anybody familiar with the Conversation Project? Great, great. So I worked with Ann Meyering and that crew to launch, I think it was our first National Healthcare Decision-Making Day. And that was really fantastic because I'm like, wow, there is a way for people to get what they want up until the very last moment. So let's see. The Conversation Project is a public engagement campaign dedicated to assure that everyone's wishes for end of life are expressed and respected. It's really important to note that the Conversation Project has no agenda or preference for what your choices are. So if you are 52 and say, you know what, if I have a terminal illness and I don't want to put up the fight, I just want to live my best until the very moment, that's fine. Or if you are 90 years old and you're like, I am going to go out like a warrior fighting and you are going to do every single thing to me to try and keep me alive, that is fine too. That is your choice. So they really want you to express what you want and what you want at that phase of life. So today, they want to know what you want right now today as a 47-year-old woman or a 67-year-old person. So, all right. And that's what this is about. It's like you always have an end of life wish. And whether you're healthy or you're living with a chronic illness, or you are indeed facing the end of your life, we're moving from our expressed wishes, which is where I am right now, and maybe all of you. I've done this. My husband over here, Andrew, he knows what my expressed wishes are, and I'm functioning out of this. It's spoken, it's documented. So as I proceed into this part where it needs to be respected and implemented, the people that know me best and my healthcare surrogate, which we'll get to in a bit, know how to put that into action for me. And I see you taking pictures and you're happy. You're welcome to take pictures, but all of this is available and free on the conversationproject.org. You are not distracting me. Carry on. You know, it's fine, but I just want you to know that in a easier format or whatever, the conversation.org, conversationproject.org. Anyway, so everybody's on this continuum. It's just a matter of when do you jump on and start putting it into action in your own life. So this is going to get you here today. And then this document here, you'll hand over to your healthcare surrogate and they will make sure that it's put into action when it comes time. Okay, so Ellen Goodman was the founder of the Conversation Project, and unfortunately for her and her mother, this developed out of her mother's death. Her mother didn't have any capacity to share what she wanted at the end of her life, and it came time that she was dying, and Ellen was at a loss for how to help her mother through the very end. What did she want? Did she want to be at home? Did she want to be in the hospital? Did she want to go to the vacation home? Did she want her sister in the room? Did she want her sister to be nowhere in town at the same time? She had no way of knowing what to do. And that distressed her. So being the amazing person that she is, she's an author, a columnist, a Pulitzer Prize winner. She gathered media, clergy, healthcare professionals, and developed the Conversation Project. It grabbed hold. It was a huge movement, but then the International Healthcare Improvement Institute, I think I'm saying that wrong, collaborated with her, and it has become what it is today. And I became aware of it in 2019, and just even through COVID, the last 3-4 years, it has grown even larger and more impactful in the healthcare world setting, and hopefully with people that I'm not in contact with it, or that we aren't aware of as well. Some things that have come about from this are, we did one a couple years ago, Before I Die walls. You've seen those? Yeah, so. And we're gonna, Diane Sawyer says it best, so I'm gonna let her take it from here. Take it away, Tristan. This is just an ad.
License plate answer a couple of questions in about every long word seconds. Then they just picked up the phone.
And finally tonight,
So he figures this out, and he's figured out twice before. So, and I have brought a lot of documents. Most of them are from UF because that's where I know. But if you have any questions about these documents, I'm happy to answer questions. I think the most important thing over there is going to be designating your healthcare proxy, which is your healthcare surrogate, and understanding a DNR.
No, I will speak for it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I've also included over there the church document, what to do, what your desires are, and how the church will help you. Important information. We used this just this week with Becky Denoff. It includes things like where do you want your memorial contributions to be made? What songs would you like played at your memorial service? So please take one of these as well, fill it out. We keep these on file here at the church, and it's very helpful.
And that actually is also a part of the document that you're going to be creating. So that's really great that the church has also got that and can put it on file for you. That will help with your healthcare surrogate, giving you what you need. All right, how do I hit play? Because
Nine out of 10 of you told us that we should all be talking about it at all ages, what we want. And yet only a fraction of us have done it. And we know it makes a huge difference in the health of the caregiver as well as those cared for. So ABC News has taken cameras inside a vital, loving family, part of a new community, deciding to have a conversation.
This is 85-year-old Norm and his daughter Maureen.
My dad is 85 today. He's still very, very active. He's a wonderful friend.
Throughout life, daughter and father have always talked about everything, except one day, how to control the end of your life in the same way you control the prime of your life. So dad and daughter gather the family together, 3 generations, for an act of love.
And so now we're just asking that you share some of your thoughts about what you would like at the end of your life, so that we can honor your wishes.
They are part of something new underway for families in America that says having the conversation is a gift parents and children give each other And there's proof of the difference it makes. Studies show depression rates plummet after a loss if the families have had the conversation. Renowned physician Dr. Atul Gawande says doctors and nurses see it firsthand.
When you're there in that moment and you're talking to the family and you're saying, how much will it bother your father if he ends up this way? And they say, more often than not, I don't know. We never talked about it. That it is incredibly traumatic for the family, for the doctors involved. There's often conflict. It can tear families apart.
So Dr. Gawande has become part of a team led by Pulitzer Prize-winning writer Ellen Goodman. It is called the Conversation Project. It is a kind of guide for families looking for a way to begin.
If we give them a way to talk about it and give people something to hang on to when they're afraid to start this conversation, they can do it and pass it on.
Families like the Jennings. They looked over the conversation guide before they sat down together. First, there's laughter.
Oh, my golf swing's still good.
And then Dad directly eases his daughter's guilt and worry about having put their mother in hospice.
I felt like that meant we were giving up on Mom.
She was in a lot of pain, and I think it was handled real well.
And next, Maureen asks her dad for clarity on what he considers a good end to a great life.
So if you were in a condition where you couldn't make decisions for yourself, how extreme would you want us to take measures to save your life versus letting you go?
Well, I think I'm ready to go anytime. You know, I wouldn't prolong anything. But, I've lived a great life. Pretty lucky. And because of you guys, you know.
Unexpectedly, a grandson is inspired to speak up about his own wishes for his own life.
That if there was no meaningful communication, that I would want you to stop trying to intervene.
We aren't ready for you to go. So.
Well, we're not ready for you to go that soon either, so.
One by one, the others weigh in, all ages.
Happy birthday.
With that, another family has joined a kind of estate planning for the heart. The conversation beginning in America.
So please tell us your stories in the days ahead about ways to begin the conversation with family members of all ages. Or if you don't want to have it, tell us about that too. My colleague and my friend, anchor Bill Ritter from WABC, and I will be reading your emails and looking.
This
at the
is old.
great
They're not
photos
reading
you're
them
already
anymore.
Sending us and your family. So WABCnews.com, find the conversation and the guide, and we'll be seeing you right there.
So I'm going to talk if you could get it back to where it was. Okay. So, is anything concerning about what you saw with the family communicating? What did you pick up on?
That there was all concerned about his life and their life. So I got some shit I can report on.
Okay.
I just want to be on. Well, I'm a donor anyway. So when you do my body,
Thank you.
I'm going to
Thank
do my
you.
do best. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do my do best. I'm getting my best. You can do this. It's a different day.
Yeah.
No. All I have is God and me, myself, and my family, so-called friends. I'm
Mhm.
not rich and not famous. The only way I'm rich is to be special or take out that. My health. I don't have a whole man. I about to stop my health.
Okay.
Made me. From a long way, still looking on me.
Yeah.
Not others.
Yeah.
Why he needs her.
Very good.
God, yeah, that.
Okay. Well, being a part of a church community does enable you to express your wishes through this document that the church has available to you right over here on the table. And that would be, since you're telling us that the people that you have in your life are limited, having that document is going to be even more important. Thank you.
I know, of course, it was edited,
Mhm.
you know, all of the conversation down to whatever they did on the newscast. But it struck me that asking the elderly gentleman for specifics about what he wanted. And of course, that was also probably edited out
Right.
for privacy
Sure.
concerns.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing that struck me, that he was the one who had the least input into that conversation at that.
And I'm hoping that the conversation was more detailed, because when I watched this the first time, the thing that I picked up on was when he said, I'm ready to go. And his daughter said, but we're not ready for you to go. And therein lies the problem, is that if he were to kick it tomorrow, she may be that person that flies in and says, I'm the oldest sibling. I get to make the decisions and I'm not ready for you to go. So we're just going to keep doing everything. He needed, and they were in the process of doing that. Thank goodness. The family was there. Everybody heard it. Hopefully it'll be on paper. But more importantly, she was able to hear that. She was able to hear, I'm ready to go. The love of my life is already left. I love you all. And I'm giving you permission to let me go on my terms. Yeah.
They still remember as adults.
That's right. I do too. Right. Right. Yeah. And it starts a healthful grieving process, and it's not cut short. They actually see, oh, they see other people grieving, and they can feel those feelings in real time at the moment, rather than stashing them away and having to bring them up with their therapist when they're 40. Yeah, go ahead. Like all of a sudden. Yeah, they sprung it on him. Yeah. Spring on. So the answer is, I don't think it probably went that way if they followed this format. It's an easing in process, and we'll go over that. So I'm going to get back to this, but so that we can get through it. So, but yes, it is an easing in. It isn't a like, we're going to Perkins for pancakes and, oh, by the way, mom. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Oh, they can't? Oh. Oh, I see. They can hear me, but they can't hear you. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is actually my first time doing Zoom as a host. Is that what you wanted to?
Actually, I just wanted to, real quick, I know you guys keep on track, but yeah, thanks. So one of the things that happened to me when my father-in-law, I married a man who's very introverted so that I could talk all the time. And he comes from a very introverted family too. And when my father-in-law, I asked him just at a table conversation, we're having dinner, what, can you tell us one thing that happened to you in World War II? And he started to cry. And it was a very, very meaningful thing for him. Everybody at the table jumped on me. Everybody. It was like particularly my kids, which was so fascinating. Yeah, you just have to bring this. Mom, you made him cry. And I was struck by how they were not okay with having a conversation that brought up emotion like that. So I don't know how to have handled that better, to be honest.
I told you I fly from the hip, and I don't know how to handle it better either. Yes, ma'am. Miss Siegel. Oh.
I live in a retirement community. And the way Dad reacted and spoke is similar to what most of us, I'm 82, think. And that we're comfortable, first of all, if you've faced going to a community, retirement community, you've looked at mortality for one thing. But you notice that he was comfortable talking about it. And I think that conversations, like if I had a conversation with I already have had kind of conversation anyway. But I mean, we've gotten down to, do you want the ashes in a jewelry piece, or you're going to go to Payne's Prairie Creek? And so, you know, it's very comfortable talking about it. And we've exchanged different possibilities of, you know, what we might want to do. But I think that if conversations, if a person that's going to be focused on is aware of what's going to happen, they might set the pace or set the tone. And I think if he had a little bit more preparation about what was going to happen, it might have been able to respond a little better to his daughter. Well, it's okay. And he did, and he talked about his wife. So I think when you're older, you do look at it differently.
All right. But we can stay and have this conversation longer. We just have to stay within, in terms of, as Diane mentioned, 90% of Americans believe it's important to have the discussion, but only 30% have done so. 90% support the use of living wills, but only 46% have one. Who has a living will in here? Beautiful. I'm 47 and I have one. And if you have this conversation also with your healthcare provider, they're able to tailor your healthcare to meet those needs, to meet your expectations, to meet your wishes, and less time in ICU. That's really important. You know, we're not going to talk about finances, but if you want to pass something on to your children, spending your last days in ICU is not the place to be. You have a better quality of life because everybody can provide you what you want, and the median survival is longer. And people in hospice tend to extend their life and the quality of their life beyond that of people that don't have expressed wishes and aren't comfortable and aren't secure in what is going to happen with them as they proceed into death. Failure to act means your end of life wishes cannot be respected. 60% of people surveyed said making sure their family is not burdened by tough decisions. And that is, one of you touched on that, the burden of, maybe it was you, Carolyn. It is really traumatic, and I think you touched on it too, to be all of a sudden in a hospital situation and the doctor turns to you and says, what do you want to do? And if you have no idea, all of a sudden the life of somebody else is in your hands. And that's the failure to act on the person who needs to express those wishes. They're actually saddling somebody with what could be a lifetime of grief, guilt, PTSD, anxiety.
This is complicated by inabilities to communicate, such as when someone is very very in the midst of Alzheimer's, for example.
And I want to point out that the Conversation Project does actually have a document like this for people with Alzheimer's. So if you go to their website, theconversationproject.org, they have many languages, they have different chronic illnesses that can be addressed for how to address it when you have somebody with a chronic illness. They have pediatric handouts or guides. So everything is covered. But yes, dementia and Alzheimer's is specific. That's why it's important to do it today while you have capacity and to express the wishes that you want today, March 26th, 2023. Okay, we're going to move quite along. Ellen Goodman, it's always too soon until it's too late. We got to move on, friend. I'm sorry. I'll be here afterwards if you want to share something with me. No, I'm really sorry. We really do have to move on. So Jeff touching on, they have pediatric starter kits. This purple one is for dementia and 14 different languages. But what I'm going to really zip along because what I really want to do is get to the meat of this. Okay, so get ready. You can open up your, step one is get ready. Okay. The kit is designed to answer the need to have something with a low bar for entry into conversations that are tough. Not all the questions will be answered and not everything will be made known to you today. More questions, ideas, and values will arise each time you broach thoughts of the end of your life. And this is a dynamic process, just as the first little table showed. It's going to change from being a healthy person to possibly somebody entering chronic illness, or just be the difference between being a 35-year-old person setting their end of life wishes as opposed to being a 97-year-old person setting their end of life wishes. The booklet will help you gather your thoughts, focus on your priorities, and plan your conversation with your healthcare surrogate. And so if you, you're going to set the table. It's not a time to solve problems while you're reviewing this. There's no distractions, set your phone away. If we had more time, we would be sharing stories and discussing more things that I would have brought up, but we're going to move on. And of course, if anything here is brought up, that we have to remember that if somebody were to say something here, you can't take it out of the room and share it because it might have been something that the healthcare surrogate didn't know about yet. Anyway, we'll move on. Get ready. What do you think you need to think about before you feel ready to begin the conversation? Do you have medical tests you're waiting for? Are you in legal limbo? Do you want to buy insurance? Are there big things in your life that are coming up that you need to wait for so that you have the answer to those questions before you start? Because you want to take everything to your person, and you want to have everything fully marinated so that you can make a clear decision with that information. Do you know the answers to what is an end of life wish? What is an advance directive? What is a power of attorney? Do you know those answers? Because all of that will be impacted as well. Your healthcare surrogate is not your power of attorney. If you come to the hospital and say, well, I have my power of attorney, and I'm going to say, well, I'm glad your finances are taken care of, but what do you want me to do with your health? So you need to have all of that squared away in your head. I can help you with that at the end of this. And then you can write a script. We're still getting there. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Write a script. We in healthcare have found that scripting works really well, especially for those of us that can really go off script. So if you need to write it out, or if you're somebody that is a writer, I have this letter over here that the Conversation Project uses to help people understand what they can write. And you can hand that to your family. I'm sure it's free and it's available to everybody. But you can write a letter to them. You can write a letter to yourself and then make it available. Let's see, this is the letter. It's over there on the table if you want to look at it. Okay, and then you're going to get set. So this addresses what's most important to you. So, and this doesn't have to be, it can be as detailed or as loose as you want, but the more detailed it is, the more likely you are to have it fulfilled. So when I filled it out, it was being able to feed myself. I never want to have to rely on somebody to feed me. I never want somebody to have to take care of me after I go to the bathroom. And if I can't talk, and this has actually changed over the years. We have this thing called locked-in syndrome. And sometimes after people have strokes, they have no ability to communicate. They are really just lying in bed. So they can't tell you they're cold. They can't tell you they're hot. They can't tell you they're hungry. They can't tell you something's lodged. They can't tell you anything. If I am ever in that situation, my brain is working and I can understand everything going on around me, but I have no way of responding to what's going on. I don't ever want to be in that situation. So even though I'm fully functioning in my head, I don't want to be alive in that situation. So that's what I meant by being able to have a conversation. Anyway, questions to consider. Are there circumstances that you would consider worse than death? I think that's worse than death myself. Are there milestones you want to meet? Do you have a daughter that is getting ready to get married? Do you have a trip plan that you want to go to, even if you have to, hire a medical team to go with you? Are there big milestones that are important to you? Do you have a grandchild that's on the way that you just even want to see a pink toe in life before you die? It's important to know that and be able to express that. And what is the environment with which you want? Do you want to be at home in a certain room? Do you want to have the sheets not tucked in to the mattress? What music do you want playing? And then, of course, you can also go as far as to plan your own funeral. Doesn't have to be serious. It can be whatever is true to you. So if I were having this conversation with Andrew, I know that I would have a lot of eye rolling from me and a lot of laughs. But I would understand the heart of what he's saying. If I were talking to his mother, I know that it would be very serious. It would be quiet, and it would be, I would need to put my best listening ears on and keep my mouth shut. And that's okay, because it's about her, not me. Again, we're going to move on. So as you proceed through the booklet, you get to these, get set where I stand. And this is where you really get to let people, it's really a lot of personal work. As a patient, I want to know everything. I want to know nothing. And it's okay if you want to know nothing and you want your healthcare surrogate to make all the decisions. That's okay, as long as the healthcare surrogate has signed on for that. And as doctors treat me, I would like my doctors to do what they think is best. That's fine. If you feel like they're the experts, they need to do what they want to do, and I will just be along for the ride. That's okay. Or do I want to have a say in every decision that's made? How long do I want to receive medical care? And then go. So this addresses what you were asking about. So now we have to consider what is important to us in life right now, and what have a clear picture as to what to talk to our healthcare surrogate about. And what you have filled out in your book is a great guide to approach that. And so you would use this guide not as in to jump right into the family birthday party and have it. You would use this to address that one person that this is in the mix. We're in the process of doing this. And you have to ask them, you have to invite them to be your healthcare surrogate, and you have to be okay if they may say no. They may say, I appreciate that you love me this much and that you think this much of me. But that is more than I can handle. And there's a big movement within choosing a healthcare surrogate to not choose family members because they're of emotional attachment. So you can choose a clergy member, you can choose a social worker, you can choose a doctor. Around Gainesville, you have to be careful because doctors we're such a transitional place that your doctor might not be your doctor in 3 years. And then not after you choose the healthcare surrogate and after they decide that, yes, that's something they're willing to take on for you, you also have to spread the word so that should it come down to it, you have a consortium of people that can say, this is what so-and-so wanted, and move on. Okay. Oh, we're going to skip that. Okay, who do you want to talk to? So this is after you've chosen your healthcare surrogate. These are the people that they've identified as people that need to also be looped into all of this deciding. When to have the conversation. So great time to bring up the conversation was this guy's birthday that we saw. But it could be if you come across somebody in your life who is all of a sudden facing it. So if your best friend is encountering this with her mom, you can bring it back to and say, so I'm watching all of this happen in so-and-so's family, and it really is, it's disconcerting to me. And I feel like we need to bring this up. I'm turning 50. I'm not actually turning 50 right now, but I'm turning 50. It seems like a good idea to start talking about, a new half of my life. I'm having a baby. I want to make sure that that the baby's taken care of, and so am I. If I develop a terminal illness or if I'm in a tragic accident. These are just a few of the things that you can use to wiggle your way into this conversation. Where will you feel comfortable talking? Talking face-to-face isn't always the best way for everybody. So a ride in the car, a walk, if you want to plan something big, a vacation, or just a trip to the beach. Or they like to use the kitchen table scenario. So you're going to set the table and have this conversation, and they lay it out in this book about setting the table, but we're going to move on because I'm way over time. So the takeaway, the focus in the takeaway is, what are 3 things that you can think of to stay focused on when you are having this conversation? Mine is going to be, Andrew, comfort, self-care, and whatever makes it easiest for our family if this were to happen to me. 3 things. So I'm going to focus on these 3 things as I'm having this conversation with Andrew. And then what he's going to take away from that is the most important thing for Jill is to be comfortable, so that she needs to be able to take care of herself. And she wants to make sure that this burden isn't passed on to our 2 children and myself as we continue to live. So the focus and the takeaway. What's my focus, and what is the person or people going to take away from this? Some ways that you can start the conversation. We're all pretty capable of starting a conversation if it's not about death, but here's some things that you can do. And this is in the booklet. So hopefully with this Zoom, we're a little bit more ready to continue on. And Atul Gawande, it's a fantastic book. Our ultimate goal in life, after all, is not a good death, but a good life to the very end. So, and also, I think I already said this, to reiterate this, this is not to scare you into action. It's to inspire you to live to the very last moment. Andrew. So here's some documents over there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them from a hospital point of view. Here's my resources, my references. Yes, Andrew? Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. So Andrew loves this letter. And it was written by Karen Boudreau. She's a physician, and she shared it with the Conversation Project. If you are faced with the decision that you are not ready for regarding her life, it's okay. I'll try to let you know what I would want for various circumstances. But if you come to something we haven't anticipated, it's okay. And if you come to a decision point and what you decide results in my death, it's also okay. You don't need to worry that you've caused my death. You haven't. I will die because of my illness or my body failing or whatever. You don't need to feel responsible. Forgiveness is not required. But if you feel bad, responsible, guilty, first of all, don't. And second of all, you are loved and forgiven. If you are faced with a snap decision, don't panic. Choose comfort, choose home, choose less intervention. Choose to be together at my side, holding my hand. I cry every time I read this. Singing, laughing, loving, celebrating, and carrying on. I will keep loving you and watching you and being proud of you. Isn't it? I mean, this is the death I hope for everybody. And this is, I mean, I didn't know this until I was in the midst of it all, but this is the death I hope for everybody. And this is what, this is why I like to talk about death, because I do feel like a majority of people can have that. We are. And we need to,
People, yeah, the other services started, but we're all old enough to know that, I think. So,
Yeah.
if you can stay a little longer, it's fine. The space is, okay, so if folks
if you
want to
have
stay.
questions
ask
about the
questions.
booklet,